How's it going, everyone? I find that me talking about PlayStation 3 backwards compatibility happening on PlayStation 5, it's a little bit comical at this point. It is like that thing, that holy grail that I personally feel like I've been chasing after for years and years. Particularly because for me, PlayStation 3 is probably my favorite console of all time. Like, when I objectively look at the game libraries, PlayStation 2 probably is the superior console, but for me, the time that I grew up, the nostalgia element attached to the PlayStation 3, the games that the PS3 did come out with, for me, it's my favorite console of all time, especially growing up with it in my teenage years. So I want to revisit some of those phenomenal games on the PS3. And I get it, some of those games are getting remastered and whatnot, but not all of them. And Sony is reportedly working on PlayStation 3 backwards compatibility for select games, so we'll talk all about that. I'll give you guys some insight on why I want this so badly, and obviously, it is a little bit of personal bias. I know to some of you guys, I'm a little bit on the younger side. I'm in my late 20s, but my teenage years, I was fiending on the PlayStation 3. I was playing all of the big PlayStation 3 game releases, so that nostalgic element of my formative high school years being spent playing PlayStation 3 games, there's a lot of nostalgia tied to that, and I want those games to be readily accessible, and I don't want to dig up my old PS3. I'm sorry, guys. The George Foreman grill or whatever can stick in the closet. It can stay in the closet, and I just want to play my PS3 games natively on my PlayStation 5. Now, as noted on PlayStation Lifestyle, rumor has it that Sony is attempting to bring select PS3 games to PS5 via backwards compatibility. Now, PS3 games are playable on PlayStation 4 and 5 to an extent via the streaming service. Ain't nobody trying to stream games, it just ain't gonna happen. I personally have fairly decent internet connection, and when I tried to stream Infamous 1, it was a clown show. It was terrible, it was unplayable, and I just want these games natively. Now, the rumor comes from Xbox Era's Nick Baker, who does have a mixed track record, but is on the money a lot of the time, noting if Sony's efforts bear fruit, select PS3 games will run on PlayStation 5 and possibly also PlayStation 4 natively, and no streaming will be required. Premium could potentially get PlayStation 3 classics added. Full PlayStation 3 backwards compatibility has always been something that so many people have wanted, but the issue always goes back to the PlayStation 3 cell architecture. The cell architecture is what people always point to as the reason why it's so difficult to emulate PlayStation 3 titles on PlayStation 5. Mind you, that there is a PlayStation 3 emulator on PC, RPCS3, and it certainly isn't perfect. If you look at the playable games, it's not every single game being playable. It's not every game readily accessible, even on high-end PCs. And PlayStation 5 isn't the top-of-the-line PC, but given that Sony has, a lot of money to work with, and you just have a group doing RPCS3, you would think that we could figure out how to do PlayStation 3 titles on PlayStation 5 via native backwards compatibility, or at the very least, like Xbox did with the Xbox 360, you have select games. I know that there's going to be issues with licensing agreements and things like that. Bringing back some of those games is going to be difficult. However, I don't even want a lot of titles. The main ones that I want: Killzone 2, Killzone 3, Infamous 1 and 2, obviously. Like, how are we losing games at that caliber? Games at the level of Infamous 1 and 2, Killzone 2 and 3, Ratchet & Clank, Future Tools of Destruction, Future Crack of Time. These games do not have remastered HD collections. You would think at the very least, if these games are going to get lost in the late 2000s, early 2010s PlayStation 3 ether, never to be heard from again on the PS3 at least, you would do HD collections of these games. Could you imagine a Ratchet Future collection where you get Future Tools of Destruction, Future Crack in Time, Into the Nexus, and Quest for Booty? All 4 titles, you price it at $50, $60, you get that sucker on PC as well. That is going to do exceedingly well. Now, again, I know that there's that layer of how is the porting gonna work? I'm not gonna pretend to understand the PlayStation 3 cell architecture. I don't, but I would imagine Sony can figure it out, unless it's a case of, for some of these games, we gotta rebuild these games from the ground up. But obviously, it's only some of them, because we've had HD remasterings. We've had Uncharted Trilogy the Nathan Drake collection be released on the PlayStation 4, and I look at that and I'm like, well, why isn't this happening with other iconic PlayStation 3 exclusives? And it doesn't stop there. There are games that are just lost on the PlayStation 3. Heavenly Sword, which I get, Heavenly Sword would be a difficult one to do. Ninja Theory, owned by Microsoft, but look, I'm sure we can figure something out. Microsoft is literally releasing their games on PlayStation. Heavenly Sword just stuck on the PlayStation 3. And there are some Metal Gear Solid 4. I mean, how can I not mention Metal Gear Solid 4? That game is just lost. Hopefully, Konami will be doing Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2, and we will be getting that. But you look at Metal Gear Solid 4, Bleach Soul Resurrection. Bleach is hot right now. The anime is doing killer numbers. Bleach Soul Resurrection was a great game. You want to play that? You don't have PS3? Oh, too bad for you. And I get it, Bleach is a licensed IP, and it would probably be difficult to get that game, but you get the idea. You get where I'm going. 3D Dog Game Heroes. 3D Dog Game Heroes is awesome. Little Big Planet 1 and 2. I get it that the online servers are an issue, but the single-player campaigns for that. You know, I can just go on, and I get it that we ain't gonna be getting Warhawk on the PlayStation 5. Could you imagine them just bringing back Warhawk? Bro, I'd be all over running the Warhawk multiplayer service again. You kidding me? I'd be all over that, and I've been asking Sony, hey, you know, you can do y'all's Concord and whatnot. Can we just remaster Killzone 2 HD, release that on PlayStation 5? I get it that you can't add microtransactions to a hypothetical Killzone 2 remaster, but release that sucker on PlayStation 5 and sell 1 million copies and make bank. Like, I obviously am simplifying this process than what it would actually be. I'm sure there's more work than just picking out a game from the hat, being like, oh, let's HD remaster this, but there's so much money you would think to be made, and they did it for Uncharted, and could you imagine the appetite there would be for a Killzone 2 HD remaster? I know I'm not the only one that wants this. With active online, Killzone's a franchise that I don't think we're gonna revisit anytime in the near future, as Guerrilla is busy with Horizon, and rightfully so. Horizon's a juggernaut of an IP, but why not throw the Killzone guys, throw the guys that want a classic multiplayer experience, not a total live service hero shooter style game like Concord, but, you know, a classic multiplayer experience like Killzone 2, HD remaster on PC, PlayStation. I just think that would do exceedingly well. But I have so many ideas, and again, for some people, the PlayStation 3 is just this console they don't get the hype over, but I get it that the PlayStation 3 had a tumultuous beginning, but if you were there in 2009, when the tables started to turn, because 2009 was the year where the PlayStation 3, I want to say, really took off. Yeah, you could go back to June of 2008 with the release of Metal Gear Solid 4, Into Resistance 2, and Little Big Planet later that year, but 2009, remember that you had the release of the PlayStation 3 Slim, and in like a 3-week period, you had the release of Uncharted 2, Ratchet & Clank Future, A Crack in Time, and the original Demon Souls. I don't think any console in history is ever gonna get, I don't remember exactly how long it was, but I'm pretty sure Demon Souls 1 and Uncharted 2 were like a week apart, and then Ratchet & Clank A Crack in Time was like a month after that. It was insane. The PlayStation 3 does not get enough credit for the level of consistency and quality that it had, because if you really want to look at where Naughty Dog popped off, where Guerrilla Games popped off, where Media Molecule popped off, where Sucker Punch popped off, to a lot of people, that PlayStation 3 era was tremendous. And I get it, Sucker Punch did Sly on PS2, Jack on PS2 for Naughty Dog, but Uncharted put Naughty Dog on a different level. And I think Killzone 2 and 3 put Guerrilla on a different level. And Infamous 1 and 2 were pretty massive games for the PlayStation 3 in the time relative to how many people were checking out PlayStation exclusives at that point. PlayStation exclusives back then, I feel like didn't have the general cachet that they do now, and I think the PS3 doesn't get the credit for really opening up a lot of people's eyes to how good their exclusives were. God of War 3, of course, as well, and obviously the PS4 continued that momentum, but I digress. I just want these PS3 games preserved. Yes, I could dig out the George Foreman grill. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to play games natively on the PS5. Can we get that done? You could even re-release these games on PC, sell them over there. There's a lot of money to be made, and every time I talk about it, I feel like I just get super emotionally tilted, but I got it. The PS3 is, again, from my personal opinion, my favorite console of all time. Objectively, the PS2 had the better library, but I just grew up with the PS3 in my teenage years and just loved my time with it. And yeah, would just love to see those games be preserved, you know what I mean? And God of War 3, by the way, also had an HD remaster on PS4, so obviously they can get some of these games working on the PS4. No problem, PS4 and PS5. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.